Hello, I'm Melanie Goodfellow, and I am the Senior International Film Correspondent for Deadline, and I'm at the Red Sea Film Festival at the Deadline studio. It gives me huge pleasure to introduce Alaa Faden, who is the co-founding CEO of Telfaz 11. You're one of the sort of most exciting content companies to be growing up in Saudi Arabia following the lifting of the cinema ban. You have your roots in like YouTube and digital, but in the last few years, you've turned over to film and TV. You've had films like Sata, which was like this huge hit, and Raven Song, which was the Oscar entry for Saudi last year. I just wanted to start off with how you think things have changed. I mean, I remember speaking to you at the very beginning, and I didn't know how to get in contact with you, and it was impossible to find out anything about Saudi. And now we're here sitting in a studio. Can you give us some of your impressions about how things have changed over the last 5 years?
Oh, wow. First of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And I think we're a lot easier to reach now. But, maybe social media, we were very connected in social media. So maybe that was one way to get to us, an easier way to get to us. But yes, a lot has changed since, 5 years ago. Cinemas have opened. There's a lot more support in the sector. There's a lot more interest in the sector. We have a lot more interest in the sector. We opened up a studio division now, and like you said, we have the biggest box office or Saudi hit for the box office. We've also have different slates that are underneath the studio. A slate for the box office, local box office, a slate for the OTT platforms, and a slate for the international, kind of, let's say, the international films or international productions. So I think a lot has changed, and there's a lot of growth and interest in the sector.
And just going back to Sata, can you just tell me a tiny bit about that film? And also, why do you think it captured the imagination of the Saudi audiences in the way it did?
I think it's just the basics. It was fantastic writing. There's a fantastic team behind it, led by Ibrahim Khairallah, the producer, the executive producer, and the writer. And he also acted it. He's one of the partners in Telfaz 11. But really, it really comes down to the authenticity, understanding the market, fantastic star power, like choosing the right cast, and also the topic. They've done a lot of research. It's a film about wrestling, and it was a big part of our culture in Saudi Arabia growing up. And we found that there's a lot of underground, like wrestling groups that get together. So so that with authenticity, with great authentic star power, and also grassroots promotion and reaching to the audience. When that's one strength that Tilfaz has very well. They're very well connected with the audience, and it comes from our digital roots. Content and being on social media, where there's always this two-way communication. So we established a really good connection with our audience.
And so here at the Red Sea Film Festival, you have two films or two feature films. I know you have a short film too, but Naga, which played last night,
Yes.
which is kind of a crazy road movie. And I felt like you kind of pushed barriers, things I wouldn't expect to see in Saudi, this sort of girl running off into the desert and disobeying her parents. And is that something that you've always wanted to do? Or is it just stories that were waiting to be told here in Saudi?
Oh my God! Well, first of all, it's kudos to the team behind Naga. Everybody from Mishal Al Jasser. He's a fantastic director, and I think he represents the future of Saudi filmmakers. From the producer Mataz and the cast, they are just fantastic. The writing. Everything was done top notch, and yes, yeah, I believe there were some boundaries pushed in terms of actual filmmaking, right, and directing, even editing, all the way down to sound design and the film scoring. So that was really fantastic, and we had great reception there. So that's always something that we look for in Telfaz. kind of supporting talents, having a good eye for talents, supporting them, making sure they have their own voice and help them to kind of bring that voice out through these projects.
And then tonight there's Mandub. I mean, both these films played in Toronto, but I wasn't in Toronto. But Mandub, I asked for a ticket, and then other journalists were saying to me, "How did you get a ticket? It feels like it's the hot ticket. I'm going to go and see it at the IMAX tonight." Can you talk
Right.
about this? Why is it so? Why is everybody so excited about it?
Well, Mandub also, there are elements that are very interesting in Mandub. It's also the debut feature film of Ali Kalthami. He's also the future of Saudi filmmakers, I believe. He has his own kind of fingerprint or his own voice in filmmaking. Where I always tell him that what I love about his films is it's a different voice. He's not trying to be something else. When you see it, you can say this is a Saudi film, and you can say this is Ali Al Khathami's film. He's very mature in how he tells his stories, and that I love that about him. So when people go and watch that movie, they're gonna be seeing something different. They're gonna be seeing a Saudi movie like they've never seen before, and hopefully a movie like they've never seen anywhere else. And that's what's special about Saudi Arabia right now is these stories that there are universal stories, but there's some freshness to it because they come from an area where people haven't really heard a lot from, especially from their own people.
And this is like a kind of a thriller set in Riyadh, I think.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
specifically. And Riyadh is actually, it's a big part. It's almost like another a character in the movie, and that's what Ali wanted to do. He wanted to make sure to present Riyadh as a character, in the movie, and it's shot very differently. A lot of movies don't show Riyadh the way the Mandub shown. You see it in at night. You see a lot of it at night. You see the lights. You see the streets. It's raining during the film. It's actually cold. It's during the winter. So there's a fresh perspective of Riyadh and everything that's happening to it and all the buildings, the modernization, what's happening with people, the of everyday life in Riyadh. It's really represented in this film.
I can't wait to see that. And then just finally, I mean, you signed this 9-picture project, it's series and TV deal with Neom in the north of the country, this huge film and TV hub that they're building at the moment. And I think you just announced the first project under that deal. Can you just talk a little, just the title and some little bit of detail about it?
Absolutely. I mean, this partnership with Neom is a very important one, I think. And our first project with them is called Al Gate, and we've been working on it for quite a bit, and we're going to be going into production here very soon. And you can call it a Western, a Saudi Western. So imagine like a spaghetti Western, but Bedouins, but Saudis in the desert.
So all of these films so far, you've really got this huge name locally, and then I think in the industry outside, we know you because you're doing so well here. Do you have like ambitions for your films to travel all over the world? Like do what the Koreans have done? Would you like to see that happen to the films that you make in the future?
Absolutely. I mean, it will be. It's actually one of our hopes and dreams, and one of their main goals in Telfaz to kind of make sure that we tell our stories the way we want the world to see them and to perceive them, and we're very happy, and that's our international stage is exactly that, right? It's called we call it the international slate, but it's actually it's Saudi films. It's in local language, but we're hoping that it travels and people get to see these films and see these interesting stories, these universal stories, these human stories, but from a Saudi perspective, from the people who are actually living this life every day. And I think there's something very special in the past. Stories from Saudi Arabia, or Saudi Arabia has been really a black box, right? You haven't seen a lot of stories come out of here, especially in film and arts. And hopefully today with films like Mandub and Naga that just came back from TIFF, Mandub also went to to Zurich and Goa and Torino in Italy. So this is something definitely that we aspire to have more people from around the world see our stories and understand that, there's our the human issues that we go through. They're very similar, but there's something, very there's something fresh, new,
Saudi
that,
touch.
yeah, the Saudi touch, the nuances of the culture that are really interesting, that the world really haven't, been exposed to before, and that's what we're counting on, is to tell these stories that we live every day, but maybe the whole world haven't seen it yet.
Well, can't wait to see the new projects too. So look, thank you so much. Thank you, Ella.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
All right.